In this video, I'm going to show you how to make your own boxes so that you can alter your house and add on little sections. Adding on sections is actually a very easy thing to do, as long as we're keeping very simple. So to create a box, an easy way to go about this is to use either the pen tool or the polygonal lasso tool. So of those tools, again, we have our pen tool here and our polygonal lasso. I personally think the polygonal lasso is pretty easy, but that's because I have experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating a new layer and just a layer above my asset. And what I'm going to create is I'm going to make a little extension off of the side here. So let's zoom in so we can focus in on this house and the angles that we're seeing on the house. So I'm going to create an extension from the side of this house outward. You can see my line moving a little bit, and I'm trying to keep the same kind of angle that we can see on the house. Then I'm going to come up and keep that parallel. We can see that that's parallel to this line here. And I'm going to click over, and I'm going to try to keep this line parallel to this line here, so that I'm keeping my box nice and straight. Then I can press enter and that'll close my selection. Now that I have a selection, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paint bucket to drop in the same color as the side of the house. So first I'm going to choose this, my eyedropper and select the color from the side of the house, change over to my paint bucket tool, and I will click into the little space that I've created. And then I can come up to select, and then deselect. So I have one side of my box. So now, time to create the other sides of my box. So I'll do the same thing with the polygonal lasso tool. And this time I'm going to start at this bottom edge, and I'm going to keep it parallel to this line here. Next one, keeping it parallel to here, and anticipating the parallel angle that I'm going to have to start from the other one. Enter it. Again, choose the color. Fill it with the paint bucket. And now we just need a top. So select, deselect, polygonal lasso. Start creating. Enter. And you can choose whatever color you need to, but I'm just going to copy what I have at the top here because it gives me nice 3 colors. Use the paint bucket tool and fill it in. Because we're going to use these as things that we're going to fill in instead of the actual textures, you don't have to go too far. If you really want to take your time and add something like outlines so that you can keep your lines nice and straight, you can go ahead and do that if you think that feels necessary, but it's not completely purposeful since we're going to be replacing everything in that area anyhow. But you can see that now I have a box, and I can use the move tool to move that box around. And I can add that to a variety of different sections. I can add it to the side of the house, or I could shrink it down. Let's see, we'll move it to the top up here. And I could start making things like chimneys and things like that. You can see it's a little bit weird, but that's okay. We can come to edit, transform, and then do things like distort or shear, and I can play around with the perspective so that it feels like it fits my house more perfectly. And this probably needs a little bit more working with, but that's pretty good for a real makeshift chimney. So you can add on a lot of different parts onto the houses that you've built to adjust it and make more. If I wanted to do a little bit more fancy work, I could even go back to my original layer and say I don't want something on there, we are going to eventually go over this with a different texture, but if you need a little bit more clarity or even want to remove entire sections or parts, you can return to this one, copy this, the color on the side of the house, and then change over to a brush tool and just paint directly over to erase out whole sections. Or if you need to crop off an end, you can use the eraser tool and or the brush tool to remove sections as necessary, because I probably won't need that door or that window since I have my own doors and windows that I'm going to be putting into those sections. But it's up to you and it depends on what you need.